Hey everyone, now it's time for the part we've all been waiting for, the chance to assemble all of our pieces. So by now you should have procured the following items. You should have your Arduino Uno, you should have your breadboard, you should have your sound sensor, you should have your resistors, you should have your LED lights. You don't have to use different colors, but it kind of looks kind of cool to have different colors. You should have your jump wires, and of course your USB type A to B cable. And for this particular thing, I'm going to give you two different options for how to connect this sensor to the Arduino, because if you can see here, you have little prongs on the end. So that is a male connection, and obviously you can't directly connect a jump wire to this. You would actually have to first connect it to the breadboard and then use a wire to connect that to the Arduino. But there's a little shortcut you can use, and that is going to be what we call a DuPont wire. And so you see here it actually has a female end to it, so you can hook it directly up to here. So, and if you have a kit, if you bought a setup kit, you'll notice that those DuPont wires come on something like this. It looks kind of like a ribbon, and the pieces just peel apart. So I'm going to show you, like I said, how to do it using the DuPont wires, but I'm also going to show you how to do it by plugging the sensor directly into the breadboard. So first, let's do the DuPont wire variation. Okay, so if you notice, I'm going to turn it this direction so you can see a little better. We're going to have three different prongs we're going to use for this project. We're going to be using the analog output, we're going to be using ground, and we're going to be using this plus sign, which is the voltage. So ground is typically represented by black wire, so we're going to pop that on there. And let's go ahead, and for the voltage we'll use a nice bright color. So we'll go with an orange. So we'll pop that on there. And then for the analog, the one on the very left, we'll just go with purple. And so you notice there's one prong left. We're not actually going to be using that one for this project, so you don't have to worry about that one. Okay, and now we need to connect this to the Arduino. So what we want to do is we want to connect it to matching ports. So we have analog output, right? That was the first slot on here. So we connect that to that first slot, A0. All right, we have our ground wire, which is our center wire, you see there, the G. And that one connects to a ground slot. And you can see that right there, that we have the ground slot. So we're going to connect that there. And then our last wire was for our voltage. That's what our plus sign is. And so that one, we are going to connect to the 5V. So you can see that right there. Okay, so this is our initial setup for the Arduino, for the sound sensor. You have A0 to your analog. You have a ground to ground. And you have the 5V, you have this orange wire to the plus, which is the voltage here. So we've got those set up. And now we want to connect the Arduino to our output, which is going to be our LEDs. But we can't just pop these on here, right? We can't just meld them directly to this. We have to actually use wires to connect them. So what we end up doing, that's where our breadboard comes in, because we're not going to be doing any soldering. So this is what this does. So you'll notice here you have positives and negatives running up and down. So you have this vertical stripe. Anything that you connect here has to be connected along the same line. So this typically, this negative is going to be our grounding. And the ground is necessary for a return path for the current, because circuits run in loops. So these are going to be our ground lines. Anything in the center portion right here, this is all going to be horizontal. So there's a split right here, but anything lined up here is all horizontal on the same line. Okay, so now we hook up our colors. I'm going to start with yellow. So I'm going to start with the yellow LED. So this will go to the digital side. This is going to be going to our output. So I'm going to put this in slot 3. And you can even see from the side here that it's also labeled slot 3. So I put this in slot 3. And now the other end needs to go to the breadboard. So I will put that. I'm going to go, I like this one better, so put that here. And I'm spacing these out a little bit bigger than I need to, just so you can see where the wires and things are placed. So now it's time to add my yellow LED. I'm going to put that here. And so the way this goes is, this is what we call a diode. It has a cathode and an anode. And so the cathode, which is the shorter end, is going to go on its own row, and the anode is going to go on the same row as the jump wire. And now, so we don't short out our current, we have a resistor. The resistor is going to go on the same line as the short end, which is, again, the cathode. And we connect that to ground, like so. Okay, and let's do the same thing with our red wire and our red light. Okay, so we're going to put that in number 4. And we'll connect it a little further down here. And again, you don't have to leave these huge gaps right here. I'm just doing it so you can see what I'm plugging in. So again, long side goes with the jump wire, short side goes on its own row for now. And we add another resistor for ground to the row that has the short wire. Okay, so now our board looks like this. Okay, and now we are going to do the blue with a blue wire. So we connect it to number 5, like so. The other side connects to the breadboard. Again, we have our LED here. Long side goes on the same row as the jump wire. Short side is going to go on its own row. And then we add our resistor and then connect that to ground. Okay, so that is a setup. And what is one thing do you think we're missing, since ground is so important? We are missing a ground wire that connects the Arduino to the breadboard, aren't we? So let's go ahead and add that. So on the same, again, because you want to keep it on the same vertical line, putting it there, and then we connect it to this other empty ground spot. And so now we are all wired up. And because I've already put the code on this, I'm going to show you what it looks like when everything's plugged in and the code is downloaded, but so you can see that everything is connected properly. I plugged in my USB. And you see how everything starts to light up. And because the sound sensor is working, you notice that the lights light up. Okay, so I'm going to unplug this, and I'm going to show you the way to do it. So in case you don't have these DuPont wires that connect to the prongs, I'm going to show you how you can do this directly to the breadboard. So you got your pretty breadboard here. Careful not to break your sound sensor like I'm almost doing. Okay. Okay, and so you notice the prongs will actually fit directly into the breadboard, and you've got a nice little resting slot for the card. Okay, now, again, we care about the analog output, the ground, and the plus, which is the voltage. We're not going to care about that last one, that digital output. So we need to connect wires. So let's start with a white one for our analog. And again, because the breadboard's the center section runs horizontally, we want to make sure that if we have something here if this is put into 20 here, that the connecting wire is also on 20. And this, again, will go to A0. Okay? And now we're going to do ground. So we're going to take our black wire, put it on 19, and don't worry if these get a little bit bendy, it's okay. And then again, and unfortunately this is a really short black wire, so we're going to connect this to ground, the open ground slot that we have. See that? Okay. And finally, we have our voltage. So we're going to connect an orange wire, nice bright orange wire, to our voltage line. So again, we're connecting them to these spots because that is where the same horizontal line is set up. And then we connect this to that 5-volt spot. So you see it right there. I just disconnected one of my ground wires, so I gotta plug that back in too. So plug that in there. So you can see that set up. And plug my ground back in here because it came undone. Okay, and so now we've got our setup again here, plugging directly in. Looks kind of messy, but once you do it enough, you get used to, you can tidy up the wires a little bit, make them a little bit tighter. And show you that we got this working. Plug it in here, plug it into my power source. You can see the lights light up. And so next time we are going to talk about the code. Obviously, if you were to clap your hands and do this, the lights would not light up yet because you don't have the code loaded into your Arduino. But next time you'll be able to do that, and we can talk about troubleshooting should the lights not light up whenever you clap your hands or play any sort of music. All right, and I will see you next week, guys.